Does the thought of sharing your faith with other people around you make you feel nervous or uncomfortable? Would you love to share your faith more, but you're just so worried about that awkward moment when you open your mouth to say something and there's no response from the other person? If you'd love to share your faith more, but you're just not sure how to do it in a natural and comfortable way, then today's video is for you. Today I'll be sharing 3 simple and easy tips that will help you share your faith more in a very comfortable and natural way. So if you want to learn how to share your faith more, then stay tuned because you don't want to miss it. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, My Extraordinary Ordinary. On today's Faith-Filled Friday video, I'm going to talk about a topic that I think all of us as Christians think about often, and we'd like to do it more, but sometimes we just feel so uncomfortable or we don't know how to go about doing that, and that is sharing your faith with other people. So today I'm going to share with you 3 tips on how you can share your faith more with anyone around you, whether they're someone you know or whether it's a complete stranger, in a very natural and simple way that doesn't make you feel uncomfortable or awkward. And let me tell you, these tips are not what you think. These are tips that everyone can implement, and you will find when you do this, it will become very easy and natural for you to share your faith a lot more. I'm so excited to share these tips with you. Let's get into it. The first tip I have for you is to seek to connect with people, not to correct them. I remember when I was newly married and my husband met this couple in the grocery store of all places. They struck up a conversation, they ended up staying in touch, and eventually this other couple invited us over for dinner. When we had finished dinner, we went and sat in the living room and there was a big Bible on the coffee table, and that's when the husband looked at my husband and said, "Are you guys saved? Do you know you're going to heaven?" And my husband said, "Yes, we're Christians." Well, that was not good enough, and he proceeded to argue with us and challenge us to show him in the Bible where it said that we would go to heaven and prove that we are Christians. Talk about an awkward and uncomfortable situation. Well, there was no seamless and easy way for us to get out of that situation. Finally, my husband said, "I'm sorry, but we need to go," and we ended up just leaving. This couple was a Christian couple. They weren't part of a weird cult. I'm not going to tell you which denomination they belong to or which church they went to, because that doesn't really matter. I'm just sharing that story with you because 1, it's kind of funny, and 2, it's a clear example of how not to share your faith. And I don't personally know anyone in my Christian circle of friends that would ever do that. I think most people know that that's a clear way of pushing people away from the faith, not bringing people closer to Jesus. But sometimes we can get so zealous and so excited, we forget that we are not the Holy Spirit. It's not our job to judge other people, and it's not our job to convict other people. That is something that only God can do. It's not for us to do. We are just the messenger. We are the conduit to bring people closer to Jesus and just share about Him. John Maxwell is a Christian author and speaker, and I recently heard him say this, and I think this is so profound. When you're trying to connect with someone that doesn't share your beliefs or your views, focus on the 1% that you agree on with this person instead of the 99% that you don't agree on. And I think that's our problem as Christians. A lot of times we hone in and we focus on that 99% that we don't agree on with the other person that we're talking to, instead of focusing on how we can connect with them, how we can better understand them, how we can get to know them a little bit more. You have to realize that you may be the only version of Jesus that that person may ever run into. So when we're able to relax and we know that it's not all about approaching them and saying, "I want to share my faith with you," or we have to talk about Christianity or Jesus right away, but just seeking to connect with them by asking them questions and being genuinely interested in who they are and why they think and believe what they do. When you add salt to a food you're about to eat, it doesn't change the flavor entirely, but it enhances the flavor that's already there. It says in Matthew chapter 5 that we're to be salt and light to the world, and the way we do that is to seek connection with people and not correction, not to go at them with judgment and to try and fix who they are, fix their sin, show them where they're wrong, but to seek to connect by asking them questions, to take a genuine interest in who they are as people, to understand why they believe what they believe. And when we do this, we might uncover some pain and some hurts and some things that we can speak to later on as we continue to share our faith with that person. And that is really important. As a salty Christian, when we come into contact with other people, we're to enhance their lives. We should make it our mission to help people that we come in contact with, whether it's a gas station clerk, whether it's a retail store clerk, whether it's a good friend of ours or a family member. for to help them feel better when they leave our presence than before they came into our presence. And that should be our mission as a salty Christian. We should seek to enhance their lives by our presence, by uplifting them, by making them feel valued, by making them feel heard, and by seeking to understand who they are. And that's the first tip I have when it comes to sharing your faith more. It's not about you knowing the Bible backwards and forwards, and it's not about what you say about Jesus, but it's more so about you seeking to connect and asking a lot of questions and showing a genuine interest in other people. And when you truly seek to connect with a person first, it opens the doorway so that you can do the other two tips that I'm going to talk about now. After you've developed a connection with them, the second tip I have for you on how to share your faith more in a very natural and effective way is to seek to serve them. When we always remember that all people have value to God, we seek to serve people by adding value to their lives and making people feel valuable. I had an experience today. I went to the UPS store to drop off a package, and there was a young man in there. I had seen him many times before, but I didn't know his name. And the first thing he said to me when I came in was, "Wow, it's nice to see you again. I haven't seen you in a long time." And I was really surprised because it was a young man, and I thought, well, they see a lot of people. Surely I'm not that memorable. I really don't remember having a really detailed conversation with him in the past. I do remember that he was always pleasant and polite, but that one small comment made me feel so valuable. It prompted me to ask him what his name was. His name is Jordan, and I really tried hard to remember that, even though I'm pretty bad with names, because he went out of his way to say a simple thing to make me feel valued. Because Jordan went out of his way to make me feel valued when I dropped off my package this morning at UPS, I will remember his name. And we need to remember that it doesn't take very much to make people feel valued. At our core, we want to feel important and we want to feel heard, and that's what makes people feel valued. When you talk to someone, look them in the eye and use their name. That makes them feel valued. When you can use someone's name when you're talking to them, that really adds value to the conversation and that makes them feel important. Smile and pay them a genuine compliment. Those are quick and easy ways that you can make someone feel important and valuable, especially if it's someone that you don't really know, but maybe it's someone you come into contact with a lot, like your gas station clerk or the checkout person at the grocery store. Whoever it might be, seek to serve other people around you by making them feel valued and important. Jesus was the greatest servant that ever lived. He served people all the time, and he never sought recognition for all the service he did for others. When we seek to serve others in small and large ways, and we don't seek to make them beholden to us, where they think, I really need this person in my life because they do this for me and I really owe them a favor, but rather that we're just a servant that's seeking to serve them always. Today, this young man, Jordan, at the UPS store served me in a very valuable way that took about 2 seconds just by saying, "Hey, it was great to see you today. I haven't seen you in a long time." So he recognized me, he made me feel valued, and he made me feel important because he remembered me from the past. So in very small ways, we can value someone, we can make them feel important, and therefore we can serve an emotional need that that person has. So always genuinely seek to serve people, not to change or convert them, not to fix them as a broken person, but simply serve them in real and tangible ways that make them feel valued and important. And that leads me to my third tip that you can do to share your faith more in a very simple and natural way. After you've connected with them and you've listened to them and you've made them feel valuable by serving them in some way, now it's time for them to listen to you, and it's time for you to be ready to share your testimony. But in order for you to do that, you need to know what your testimony is. But unfortunately, a lot of Christians that I've met through the years don't know what their testimony is. 1 Peter 3 verse 15 says this, "But in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect." I spoke at a women's conference at my church last year, and I did talk about sharing your testimony, and I do have a testimony worksheet that helps you break down how to write out your testimony, and I really advise that everyone do that. I will link that video down in the description box below if you do want to watch it and you do want to hear what I talked about in regards to sharing your testimony. If you are interested in receiving that testimony worksheet via email, leave me a comment in this video, or you can DM me your email address on Instagram and I can email that worksheet to you. I do think it is really important to think about your testimony and write it out in totality, and like I said, I shared more details on how to do this in that women's conference video that I'll link below. But in regards to sharing your testimony, the one thing I want to tell you, especially if it's someone that you don't know personally, or maybe it's someone that you might see in passing, maybe it's the gas station attendant or the grocery store clerk, or maybe it's someone that you work with, or someone that you might see on a weekly or monthly basis, but you only have a few minutes here or there to talk to them, or maybe it's someone that you wouldn't have a lot of time to share a whole bunch of personal details, or maybe it wouldn't be appropriate. You can still share your testimony. And just to be clear, telling someone that you grew up in a Christian home is not your testimony. Think about the last time you ate a really good meal. You remember what you ate, you remember how it tasted, you remember a lot of special details about the meal, and you might even remember what it looked like. But when you start to think about that again, it probably makes you hungry. Or if you like to cook like I do, when you watch cooking shows, a lot of times those shows make you hungry because they want to make the food they're making look appealing to you, and it can appeal to your senses and make you feel like you want to eat something really good. Well, let me ask you this. When was the last time that you made someone spiritually hungry to know God? And that's kind of a loaded question, but seriously, do we make our faith exciting? Do we make it fun? Do we make it sound appealing that it's something that they would want? Like 1 Peter 3 verse 15 says, we need to always be prepared to give an answer for the hope that we have in Christ. A lot of us may not have that answer. I think a lot of Christians think of the word testimony and they kind of freak out. They're like, oh, I don't know. Maybe you've never had a big dramatic thing happen in your life that you have this dramatic testimony to share with others. So you think you don't have a testimony. And maybe you were just always raised in a Christian home and you've always followed the Lord and nothing big has ever happened to you that's been really earth-shattering or really bad. You know what? A lot more people are like you than people that are like me that have had a really earth-shattering past or something really bad happen. But let me tell you that if that is you, if you've never gone through a dramatic or traumatic life experience, or you were raised in a Christian home, let me assure you, you still have a testimony. Now, my big testimony with a capital T happened in 2013 when I recommitted my life to the Lord. I did write that testimony out and I have shared that publicly a few times, and that testimony is over 4,000 words. It's a long story. There was a big dramatic story behind it, but please understand when I'm talking here about sharing your testimony, I'm not talking about a big lengthy explanation of how you came to Christ. I'm not talking about a theological dissertation. I'm talking about something that's relevant to you right now, where you see Christ in your life. Maybe you come across someone that is having a bad day. Maybe they're really stressed out, and you can be a listening, empathetic ear for them. And then sharing your testimony really means being willing to be a little bit vulnerable and transparent with them and relate to them a little bit. If they're really stressed out, if they're really worried, you can share with them about a recent time when you were worried or you were really stressed out over something and how God helped you handle that. And that is your relevant testimony that relates to them. For example, a couple weeks ago, I was really sick. I missed some work and I missed my workouts. I was really worried about getting into my regular routine, and I was really worried about making up the sessions I missed with my clients, but I really prayed about it and God gave me peace, and I was able this week to get back on my regular schedule, and I've been able to make up those missed sessions with my clients, and it hasn't been a problem, and all my clients were really understanding, and I'm so thankful for God that He gave me the peace when I prayed and asked Him for peace and shared that I was worried. And I really want you to have that same peace too. Do you see how that's really relevant to now? It's something recent that's happened to me. It's not my whole life's testimony. It's not a big long story. It's just something that's relevant to them in that moment based on what they are struggling with. Now they're ready to share with you some points of pain that they may have, and then your testimony simply is being willing to be a little bit vulnerable, a little bit transparent, and relating a similar experience that maybe you or someone else has had, and how your belief in God and your faith has really helped you deal with that particular experience, with that particular emotion. And that just opens the doorway, and as time goes on, there might be other opportunities for you to share more relevant testimonies, and there might come a day when you might share your big testimony of how you came to know God, how you developed a personal relationship with Jesus, or that may never come, because remember, we might only be the seed planter and we might only be the seed waterer, and that's okay. Remember that we're just here to deliver the message, and however God wants to use that is up to Him. But I think we really need to step back and just relax. I believe personally that the key in truly sharing your faith with everyone around you has very little to do with what you say, but it's really your lifestyle, it's your attitude, it's the way you make other people feel. When you seek to develop relationship with others around you by connecting with them and not judging them, when you seek to serve other people and make other people feel important and valued, and then you seek to share relevant testimonies with people that are short, that deal specifically with the issues that they're having or things they're struggling with, and you can relate to them in some ways, those are very practical, simple, and easy ways that you can share your faith in a very comfortable and natural way, and you won't feel uncomfortable, and you won't make other people around you feel uncomfortable either. And when it comes to sharing your faith with everyone around you in a very simple, relaxed, and natural way, the last thing I want to leave you with is this. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a Bible scholar. You don't have to know everything. If you get involved in a conversation with someone about faith and they ask you a question you don't know the answer to, the best thing to do is be honest. Tell them, you know what, that's a really good question. I don't know the answer. Let me find out what the answer is and get back to you. It's a good idea to have a few people in your life, like your pastor or maybe some other mature Christians who are trusted friends, that you can go to with these questions, and you can also do your own due diligence to figure out the answer to that person's question. Remember that it's our job as Christians to make people hungry for God. It's not enough that they notice that we're a strong person or that we're always peaceful or that we're always joyful or happy. We want them to ask us where our strength comes from. How can we always be so joyful? How can we always be so peaceful when we're going through a difficult time? And that is the time when you can share your testimony. So you don't have to know everything, and you definitely don't have to be a Bible scholar, but the key to sharing your faith with everyone around you, regardless of whether it's a complete stranger, an acquaintance, or someone you know well, you need to see people through the eyes of Jesus, recognizing that everyone around you has value. And when you do this, it becomes very easy to connect with others, to serve others, and to share your testimony with others around you in a very comfortable, relaxed, an easy way. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope it helps you share your faith more with everyone around you. If you enjoy videos that help you grow spiritually, motivate and inspire you, and help you get healthier inside and out, then you'll definitely want to subscribe to my channel. And in case you didn't know this, I do share a Bible verse every single day under the YouTube Shorts tab as a YouTube short, so it's under a minute long. So every single day, if you want to hear a new Bible verse, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you won't miss any future videos that I share. Thank you so much for sharing some time with me today. I look forward to seeing you in my next video, and remember to make your everyday ordinary life extraordinary.